Hi, friends, and welcome back to Podcast Barbie. I'm Kier, and today we are going to be taking a deep dive into all things dancing. All right, so grab your headphones and let's settle in. Okay, so this past weekend, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina for Trilogy Swing. So Rick Doss and Cindy Doss run so there's currently three dance events each year. We have Charlotte Westy Fest, end of January. Carolina Summer Swing, which started this year in July, and Trilogy, which is in September each year. And this was our third year for my Greenville Fusion dance team to run the Blues and Fusion room. So they have what's called a community connection room. So that this year there was country swing one night, line dance one night, and then we have blues and fusion Friday night and Saturday night. And what's really cool about that is each event has their own way of connecting with different local organizations that involve dance. And we bring the fusion room to all three of those events. And it's a great way just to connect with other people and to just kind of bring a more like chill vibe for those who are doing West Coast swing in the big room and need a break or want to come explore different dance styles. And what I love about it is that it's very no drama, very just like come hang out, have fun. We do snacks. Like this year, one of our photographers who comes in and does photographs, Jonathan, it was his birthday, actually, like the Friday of the Blues and Fusion room. And so we made sure to sing happy birthday, and it was our fundatory activity, and we gave everyone snacks afterwards that we had bought for the staff. And I really like that it's just a great way to bring the community together for different dances. So I want to talk a little bit about how that started and then also my role in it. So I am the social media plus coordinator for Greenville Fusion Dance. And basically what my job is creating all of our social media posts. So I go through Canva and I make all of our pretty designs and reels and flyers. And then I also post them, but I help Gracie, my best friend who also runs the dance. I help her with kind of just some behind the scenes logistics things, so scheduling, things like that. And then we have three other teammates. We have Kat, who does volunteers, Jay, who helps hire all of our instructors, and Alan, who helps hire the DJs. And we all meet together fairly frequently to talk about who we want to hire, what we want to do with the events, and just to make it the best event possible. And so, what's really cool about our team is that we all have like our areas of expertise. So even though I am the social media person, Gracie also helps me like with ideas. So she'll be like, hey, what if we did like this and this? And we've created color palettes for each of the events. Carolina Summer Swing we did like a water theme since it was summer beachy. And Trilogy is like dark purples, and that was more the blue side of things. And then Charlotte Westy Fest is more like bright blues mixed in with some more deeper blues. And so it's cool because even though I'm able to make preset like templates for each event, I'm able to play around with them. That way each one's a little bit more unique. So I try to make the flyers always different. And then I'll do the day of posts similar. That way people are like, oh, I know this post because it was there last year. So they can follow along for different details and things. And what's really cool about each event is that we're able to make them a little different. So for instance, since it was our first annual Carolina Summer Swing, we had reached out to Mark and Flower, who are fusion teachers, and we had a fusion teacher training. So we had a bunch of teachers and wannabe teachers come out to Greenville, South Carolina, and we did a teacher training. And then at the end of the week, we had those instructors who were in the module 4. There was 6 of us. We taught at Carolina Summer Swing with our teaching partner. And I thought that was a really cool way to showcase the teachers that were taking the training, but also to really involve the other students in the teacher training. We had a really great time with that. We typically do 6 to 8 hours of lesson time. So we'll have 5 or 6 hours of lessons, and then we'll do a 2-hour intensive workshop with whoever's like headlining the event. And then we have 12 to 13 hours of social dancing music, which I think is phenomenal because people are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you dance for that long, that straight in a row?" And for me, it kind of all blends together. Like, obviously, you can take breaks and go take a nap or come back at night. And I think for a lot of our dancers, they appreciate that we try to set up the environment of the room to be pretty chill. So, like, for instance, in the corner, we have what's similar like a cuddle corner, I suppose, but it's more just like a cozy, it's like a foam kind of large couch type situation, and people can hang out there. And then in the large ballroom for the West Coast swing dancing, they have all kinds of chairs and you can sit on the side. And I think it's really great because of how they've set it up to where if you get tired, you can just leave. You don't have to sit there the whole time and be tired. And then there's tables and snacks. And what's cool is every event that Reagan City put on, there's a donor who donates like hundreds of bananas, which is super amazing because not only are you getting your potassium, but then you're also able to have a snack for later. And so it's really fun that they incorporate those snacks. And then we try to at the end. So Sunday, we had bought snacks for the fusion room, but we brought them. So we had Cheez-Its and chips that we brought to the West Coast room Sunday night, which was the last night. And that event ended at 3 a.m. and everyone was munching and having snacks. And that was really great. And so I think it's really cool that these different communities are able to come together for these events. And it's really fun. So at Trilogy this year, since it was new having the line dancing Friday and country swing Saturday, because last year there was a Latin room, I actually was like, okay, I actually really enjoy country swing. It's something that Clay and I do together. What the heck? I'll sign up for the competition. So they had a beginner class and then they had a little workshop. And Ellis taught the beginner class, and then JP and his partner taught the workshop. And it was fun because I was like, I'll go and do a refresh. But what ended up happening was there were so many West Coast people that were like, I'm going to take the beginner class for the first time and then I'm going to compete, which I thought was kind of funny. But the competition ended up being really fun, and it was interesting to see all of the West Coast swing dancers competing in country swing because some of them do have a background in country swing and are more advanced. But it was definitely interesting seeing the different levels of dancers compared to those who were just country swing dancers and those who were West Coast swing dancers just doing country swing. And I thought that that was pretty fun that we were able to combine communities within that because country swing is it's very similar to West Coast, but they specifically try to avoid each other, which I think is kind of funny. And then obviously the fusion room, we have a somewhat bad rap because people think that we're in there just like cuddling all night. And it's very much a fast paced dance at the beginning of the night. And then later on, we get more of those microfusion chill vibes. So I try to explain to people, come out, check it out, see what you actually think. Like, don't judge us ahead of time. It'd be like saying like, oh, country swing is going to be boring because it's just going to be a bunch of like lame country music. But it was actually really fun. They did close the room early because a lot of the people were going to watch all of the legend shows in the West Coast ballroom. So I'm had proposed to them, I mean, maybe next year having a combined line dance country swing room. That way they could have more people throughout the end of the night. And then fusion, we keep 2 nights. I will say, so dance for me has been quite the evolution of change. So I started fusion dancing 3 years ago in June of 2022, and I loved it. I remember specifically enjoying how nice everyone was and how it felt very freeing because you're combining different dance styles. And what was really cool is everyone was really friendly. And the first time I went, I met Gracie and I met Kat and all of them. And I was like, I would love to help this grow. And so I talked to Gracie after the dance and I was like, hey, I do social media for a bunch of other brands. I would love to potentially help you out, like make some videos or content. And Gracie was like, heck yeah. And I ended up joining the staff and I've tripled our numbers on social media and we've grown our dance exponentially from that with all of the team being amazing and sharing the word. And our Fusion Festival, so every April we have Greenville Fusion Fest. And the cool thing about that is we have a bunch of dancers. There's usually over 150 dancers. So this year we had 175 dancers. And it's cool just seeing everyone come together. This year we had belly dancing and we had some jazz and we did tango, and we've had zouk in the past and we've had bachata and we've had all kinds of different dance styles. And then the fun thing about fusion is obviously you are fusing them. But it's different than just taking dance styles and trying to smush them together. You are keeping the core fundamentals of each dance and then blending them to make something wonderful. And the cool thing about our dance is we try to encourage baby dancers, so newer dancers who don't necessarily have a background in dance, to come and to explore and to find what they love about it and to take their style. So we have a lot of people that come from contra dancing and they enjoy that it's more like folk style and they can combine those dances. We have a lot of Latin dancers. So my background is in Latin dancing with salsa and zouk, and those dancers can come and blend varieties of dances and fuse them together. And then within West Coast swing, so I found West Coast swing the fall. And what I loved about West Coast swing dancing was that it really pushed me to work outside of the box. So I've been dancing for 20 years, not professionally, but I've been dancing since I was little. And then in middle school, my mom and I found salsa and we go to salsa together. And then in high school, I started competing in musical theater and I did tap, jazz, and ballet. And then in college, I taught salsa. And then I found zouk. And what I think I loved about West Coast Swing is that I had to really commit to work. It took me 6 months to figure out the basics. I was like, "I hate this. How have I been dancing for 20 years and I can't understand this?" Like, it wasn't that I couldn't understand the dance because it's step, triple step, and there's a 6 count and an 8 count. And so that part, my brain was like, "Okay, yes, I understand this." And one of the funny things about West Coast that people say is that it's very much a dance for type A personalities, people who like to stay organized, people who like to push themselves, and that is definitely my personality. So it was funny because I was starting the dance. I was like, okay, everyone's really nice. The music's fun. It's very much like pop music with they have like some blues and some Latin. And I was like, okay, why can I not understand the concepts of this dance? And it wasn't that I didn't understand the concept of West Coast swing as a style because I've done East Coast swing. I did East Coast swing for a while, a couple years before that with my mom primarily. And I was like, okay, East Coast swing is kind of just you're thrown around the dance, you can do flips and dips, but West Coast swing is very more fundamental. So there's a slot and you stay committed to the slot and you try to mirror your partner and there's musicality and steps. And what's the fun thing about West Coast swing is that it actually originated in as a war dance. So they wanted slots and because of movies at the time, so they would do old school movies that have dancing, they want to be able to stay in frame. And then also if you were in like a large like warehouse or whatever to go dance to see the boys in blue, you would need to have lots of space and you couldn't have a lot of space with all these people dancing. So they created slots so people could dance and not bump into each other. Which of course sometimes happens if you're adding in some stylizing or whatnot. So I had never done a slotted dance before. I'm used to just using the whole floor. And so that was something that was like really unique for me. And I was like, okay, slotted dance, I've got this. We're going to figure it out. And I ended up really loving it. And I've met some really amazing people through West Coast Swing. And Ryan Flume, who's one of the pros, he has been one of my coaches, and I really appreciate all of his help. And so this summer, my first competition was at the first trilogy I did. I did an All-American, which is where anyone can sign up. A lot of the pros sign up and you get randomly paired. And then there's Jack and Jill's. Jack and Jill's is everyone's randomly paired with people in your level. I've competed in a few different ones of All-American, Jack and Jill, and then this is my first year doing a Jack and Jill Pro-Am, so professionals with amateurs. And the fun thing about that is you get 3 different pros, so you rotate 3 songs, and then you get a different person each song. And this is my first year where I was like, okay, I'm gonna really rock and roll. So at Carolina Summer Swing in July, Gracie and I worked our butts off to do a Strictly. And Strictlys are where you get to pick your partner and then you dance and you have random songs. And what's funny about the Strictly this year was there were only 3 couples who had signed up to do the Strictly for a newcomer, and you have to have 5 to compete. So they asked us, do you want to do it as a novice level or would you just rather get a refund? And Grace and I were like, what the heck, let's do it. So there was like I want to say 30 couples that did the novice Strictly, and we placed above 11 of them. And this is our first time like competing together. And so I was like, okay, we totally got this. So now we decided for Charlotte Westie Fest, we are going to kick butt. So we've got about 4 months to prep for that. And then I was like, okay, I really like doing Jack and Jills. I like having random pairings, and I would really like to see myself advance in that. And so I've been working with Ryan on figuring out what that means for me. Does that mean that I am going to 1 weekend or a month, so 12 events a year, which is a lot. I currently do 3 West Coast Swing events a year, and I was like, okay, this was the event where I ended up placing in the middle on all categories, which I thought was great. I made finals as an alternate for my Jack and Jill newcomer, which was what I wanted. And I was like, okay, if I make finals, I'm really gonna put the effort in more than I have been. And so Ryan, he grabbed me at the end of the Sunday dance and he was like, okay, what do you think? And I was like, I think it's time to take it up a level. He goes, I figured you would say that. And so now my plan is to really put in the work and the effort and to practice. And we have our Greenville Westies are really amazing, and we have a practice team, and they are going to be meeting like once a week on the weekend. And I'm planning on doing more of those and really working on it. But another thing that I wanted to talk about within dancing is the loneliness that comes from it. So a lot of people think, okay, Kiera, you're a dancer, like you have all these friends, like clearly you're never lonely. But something that I had to really face this weekend was I actually was very lonely. There was a point where I had to take a pause and go to the staff room for the fusion room, and I had to sit and I ended up crying because I was like, I'm surrounded by all these people, but I feel very lonely. And the issue with that was because I was doing more West Coast events where Gracie was in the fusion room, and Gracie's my best friend. And we do all of these dances together. And so Thursday night, she and I were together the whole night, and Sunday we were together the whole night. But Friday and Saturday, where there's very much a split because I wasn't teaching fusion this weekend and I was doing a lot of competitions. We didn't have a whole lot of time together. So something that she and I talked to on Sunday was connecting outside of our room. So like being able to find each other in the middle. She's going to try to make more time to like come film me, and I'm going to make more time for the fusion room, and we're going to try to find areas that I feel more integrated in the fusion room, because if I'm teaching, I'm there. I love it. I'm having fun. I'm dedicated to it, and then I can go compete. For Carolina Summer Swing, we had a competition, but then we were also teaching together. So we made time for that. Our teaching was Saturday, comp was Friday. And so that was more even as far as time committed to both sides. Whereas at Trilogy, I didn't feel like I had like a go-to designated person. One of my friends, Riley, who competed, we swapped filming. So she filmed me and then I filmed her, and that was really helpful. And then my friend KP, he filmed the pro level. And so I think something that I want people to take away from that is seeing things on the internet or seeing things in real life and someone looking like they're having a great time isn't always accurate. I'm having a great time. I have a lot of friends. I love the people I dance with. I love that like people that I don't know come up and ask me to dance, but there's still loneliness within that. So something that I'm really appreciating is when people take the time to like introduce me to new people, or they come up to me and they're new and they ask me to dance, and then they see me another time, they say hi. And something that's really fun about this specific weekend was my friend Fabio, who is also a vegan. Friday night was like, hey, I'm getting a couple of friends together to go to a vegan restaurant. Would you like to come? And I ended up making two really cool new friends, and I connected with a third person who I had seen before, but we hadn't really talked as much. And that was really helpful for me to have people that I could be like, hey. And so Sunday night, I ended up connecting with one of the people, Jason, who's a DJ, and his partner, Ursula. And they were like, anytime you see us at an event, like come hang out. If I'm in the DJ booth and it's not a competition and we're just doing a social like dance, come say hi or come hang out in the DJ booth. And then Ryan was telling me that there's an event called Floor Play that's for New Year's Eve. And he's like, I have Elena, my girlfriend and I, we have a table. I'd love if you come, you can come sit at our table and you'll have people that you know and you'll have a pro on this side. And that's really beneficial to me and I really appreciate that. And so for those of you listening who, if you decide to go to a dance and you're feeling on the outskirts, go make friends, like go meet people. I'm obviously like, I'm freaking podcast Barbie, but I'm not always on alert for making new friends and like connecting. And I never want to feel like I'm intruding on someone's fun time. And so I took a step back and I was like, okay, I'm having these feelings, but it's not fair to put those on other people. What can I do to improve this? And so I had the conversation with Gracie about, I need XYZ to feel connected, to help me feel more connected to you, but also to feel more connected to the event. And so do that. If you're not even just with dance, but if you are somewhere and you're like, hey, I'm having a bad time, like maybe you're at a festival or you're at a fair or you're at an event and you're not feeling connected to people, make the effort. Like you're in line getting food, ask them what they're ordering or talk to the people at the checkout. I think that's something that we lack as a human sense, is that there's connection all around us, but we aren't apt to go find it or to enjoy it. And so something that I encourage all of you listening to do is to make those connections with strangers and with people that you might not regularly do that with, and to really go outside of your comfort zone. And if you see someone on the sidelines that seems to be like they're having a good time, but maybe they seem kind of off in the outskirts, go say hello, go make a connection, go introduce yourself, because I guarantee you that will go a long way and will mean so much to the person that you're talking to. And I guarantee you that they will appreciate that if they see you another time and be like, hey, how are you? And that's something that I now do. Is this was my third year doing Trilogy, and there are people that I see every year, and I'm like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I think it's important that as humans, we are looking for those sources of connection and doing a better job, because one, it's not other people's job to make us happy. It's not their job to make sure we're having a good time. But also, it's not something that would be unusual to do, to go like take your extra 5 seconds to say, hey, how are you? I'm here, blah, blah, blah. Or is this your first dance? Like, or if you're at a dance event and you see like newcomers, like go up and talk to them, ask them to dance. I got asked by a couple of pros and a couple of advanced dancers this weekend to dance, and that was like really meaningful to me. And I try to go and ask people to dance. And I think it's important that within dance that we are making those connections, because otherwise it starts becoming more cliquish. And I think cliques are the worst thing when it comes to humans. And I've never been one for cliques. I always try to expand outside of my group, and I try to make different friends. In high school, I was in multiple groups. I was in business DECA, I was in theater, I did yearbook, I played sports. I think it's really important to expand outside of your comfort zone per se, and to really level up those connections. And something that is interesting within the dance community is that people, I think, feel more comfortable within their groups and it's safer. But I guarantee you, if you expand outside of your normal, you'll make some amazing connections that could help you in the end. Like, had I not actually made an effort to go out to that dinner, I wouldn't have met Jason and Ursula and connected with Matthew and gotten to know Fabio more. And we actually there was another person sitting next to us at another table who's in med school, so he's becoming a veterinarian, and so he saw my tattoos and heard me talking about the sanctuary, and we, like, connected, and I was like, "It was so nice to meet you," and will I probably ever see him again? Maybe not, but it was a connection, and it was a great, like, network, and I think that that's the biggest thing when you're out and about is making those networks and connections, and something within dance that I think is really cool is so Rick and Cindy Doss, who run the 3 events, Westy Fest, Carolina Summer Swing, and Trilogy, they really try to make the events fun. So they'll throw in fun. They have a master's level, which is like people 50 and older, and they do Jack and Jills and Strictly's that are more like unique. And I think that that's really cool. And there are definitely other events that do that. It's like Austin Rocks. They have Be a Unicorn. It's like IOU unicorn. There are other events that do that, and I think it's really cool when events and dances specifically put in the effort to make those connections. And so I just wanted to get on here for this week's podcast and just talk a little bit about loneliness and like what it's like. And I want to be vulnerable myself with what I was feeling and why I was feeling those things and what I did to fix it. Because I could have just sat and been like, man, I'm really sad. I had a hard time because I didn't have a best friend the entire weekend. Or what I instead did was, hey, I recognize this area that I can improve on by talking to Gracie, by talking to other people, by saying, hey, I really want to reach out. And then within an hour of having that conversation, Gracie and I had come to an arrangement of what we're going to do for the next event. And I had talked to Jason and Ryan about events that are not local, so more not East Coast. And I was able to be like, hey, I would love to come to these events, but it's hard for me to go if I don't have someone that I can connect with or if I see you, come hang out with you on the side. And they're like, hey, that's us. We would love to be that for you. And so I encourage all of you listening, if you are somewhere and you're feeling disconnected, go outside of your comfort zone. Make the 10-second conversation because it could totally change your perspective on things and it could totally change your experience of the entire event. And so I just wanted to kind of chat a little bit about that. And then my plan for the next podcast is I'm going to Oklahoma tomorrow, fly out tomorrow to Oklahoma City, and Clay and I will be doing a podcast together about all things relationship and our long-term relationship and how weird our relationship is and the engagement and all of that, because I'm sure for those of you who know me and are curious about what all that went down, would love to listen. And then for those of you who are new, can come see what it's like to be in a long-term relationship with someone who travels the country. And yeah, so thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. Again, you can find me on YouTube, Spotify. I'll be releasing on Apple and Red Circle. And episodes release every Friday at 7 a.m. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I appreciate all of you listening and happy Friday. All right. Well, by the way, my voice sounds like this because I totally lost it this weekend from dance because I only got 6 hours of sleep Friday and Saturday combined. And I've been catching up on sleep all of this week. So I apologize for the quality of my voice, but it should be back to normal this next week. All right. Hope all of you are doing well. Remember, you are loved and you're worthy of that love. All right. Bye bye.